Little Delights Bakery. Lowell Burger Company. The Purple Carrot Bread Company. Sizzling Kitchen. The Richard K. and Nancy L. Donahue Charitable Foundation. Warp and Weft. And Offbeat Compost. Thanks for your support.
My cheat sheet. Let's get a peek real quick. It's a guy who's got a mom's house. No, he was, yeah. Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the prayer. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for the direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be good for the city. We also pray for your special blessing on those who are working to transform our city to make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Salute the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
Mayor Leahy.
Here.
Councilor Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Noon.
Here.
Councilor Rourke.
Here.
Councilor Samaras. Councilor Chow.
Here.
Councilor Conway.
Here.
Councilor Drinkwater.
Here.
8 present.
Moments of silence. Councilor Chow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to request a moment of silence in darkened chamber for my good friend's mother, Kwan Tung of Lowell. Kwan Tung, 91, of Lowell, passed away peacefully at her home with her family by her side on Friday, January 17, 2020. She was born in Phnom Penh, Cambodia in 1928 and came to the United States in 1983. She became a citizen in July of 1997 and had been a long-time resident of Lowell. She enjoyed sewing and watching drama movies. She is survived by her husband, William Oy of Lowell, sons, Darren Oy of Lowell, and Uch Lim and his wife, Ing Mao of Lowell, daughter, Kim Hoi Ang, and her husband, Paul Lai Lee of Lowell, 12 grandchildren, 14 great-grandchildren, and many nieces and nephews. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other moments of silence? We have darkened chambers, please. Thank you. Under Mayor's business, we have a presentation for the Community Choice Aggregate. We're going to make a presentation with Mr. Mason. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council, City Manager. My name is Jay Mason. I'm from 77 Tyler Park, and I would like to make this presentation about the success that Lowell has enjoyed with the Community Choice Aggregation. We have slides that are going to be up on the screen. I've also provided councilors with a copy of the gist of the presentation. Not all of the slides are in your packet so that we're not wasting copies. I just try to get you the essential information. But basically, Community Choice Aggregation is a program towns and cities can use to switch everyone in the city who's on basic service over to cleaner energy. Lowell has done this over a number of years. And most recently, we switched our contract from a standard service with National Grid to a new aggregation rate, which was quite a bit lower than the previous rates, and I'll get to that in a minute. The energy is still distributed and billed through National Grid, and residents are able to opt in and opt out, and I'll discuss that in just a moment. The program works quite simply, actually. There is a power generator, which is the Community Choice Aggregation piece. There's the utility company, National Grid, and the end user. Now, if you sign up to this program, you can avail yourself of, in this case, 45% of additional green energy. So Lowell now, more than any other community in the entire state, has 59% altogether of clean energy. That's 14% through the state, which will be 16% soon, and 45% additional through this aggregation program. So the buying power of the CCA uses the utility, and the utility continues to deliver the energy. They continue to bring the energy to the home, and the end user benefits by the lower cost. And this is made possible because of the buying power of the large group. There are a number of advantages. I'll highlight a few, and you can take a look on screen and read some of these other advantages, but basically the aggregation program provides for lower, stable electricity rates, saving customers money. Now, in our case, we have a rate that's a full cent lower than the cost we were paying to National Grid before for standard energy, which was no additional green content. So we got a double win in this contract. The city was able to negotiate a contract for 11.87 cents per kilowatt hour. That's, as I say, just about a penny less than what we were paying, which was 12.85 cents. What that means at the end of the month for an average Lowell customer who's using 511 kilowatt hours is that we're saving $5 a month. So just by switching into the aggregation program and taking on more clean energy, we're able to save money. And $5 a month adds up a year, that's $60. So, you know, this is not something to sneeze at. This is real savings. And let me just say that in today's market, where we are facing severe and intense issues of having to deal with climate change, this not only saves you money, but it does something positive. You know, in the last, I'm just going to give you one statistic to drive home the point. In the last 20 years, 18 of those 20 years have been in the highest, the warmest temperatures we've ever had since they've been recording temperatures since the Industrial Revolution. So what that means is the planet is absolutely getting warmer, and we have to deal with that. And the only way we're going to get away from the problem of too much carbon in the atmosphere is move to these cleaner fuels. It's very simple. It's just we need a little bit additional political will, and Lowell's taken the steps to make this happen. So I'm very excited about that. Some of the other benefits, as I say, this reduces greenhouse gas emissions. It creates competition in the retail market. There's a lot of benefits to going with an aggregation program, and it saves you money at the same time. It's kind of a no-brainer. The billing works just like it does for non-aggregation customers. You get one bill, and that bill will show you both the standard National Grid rate plus the aggregation rate. And on page 2 of your bill, and I've got a highlighted copy on the screen, on page 2, you can see if you're involved already in the aggregation program by if it says Constellation Energy. That's our provider. If it says Constellation Energy and you see the 11 point, what did I say, 874 cents, that's your aggregation rate. That's your rate that's a penny less than it was before. So if it doesn't say that, we'll show you how to opt back in just a minute. A CCA can be opted into, can be opted out of. If you, for any reason, feel like this isn't a program for you, you can opt out. And here's the website and the toll-free number to call if you do want to opt in. For those of you who were opted out before because the National Grid rate was quite high, a lot of people did opt out at that time, they are not going to automatically be able to opt back in. So you've got to take this in your own hands, go on the website or call the toll-free number. The city's also making this very, very easy. This is on the city website. This is easy to get to. So I urge anyone who doesn't know to check their bill, see if you're on CCA, and if not, take a look at entering this program. It's a terrific program for the environment. It saves us money, and it makes the city look good. So I feel great about all those reasons, and for that reason I came here tonight thinking that this program should be talked about and used. I think in our economic development department we should be letting other prospects that are coming to the city know, hey, this is a great program, I should be taking advantage of this, and you should as a prospective new Lowellian. So that's what I've got to say. Any questions?
Thank you. Counselor Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you tell me how many customers have opted in?
I'm going to ask Catherine Moses, our energy manager, that question. Mr.
How many
Elliott.
we have in total and how many have you have to opt in, right? Because I just want to say, I think that's the most confusing aspect, including myself. How do we do it? I mean, how do residents do it? Not everybody has a website and there is an 800 number, but, you know, we all know calling an 800 number sometimes you don't
Well,
go anywhere.
it is a kind of a complex question because anybody that was previously on the city's aggregation has automatically been enrolled in this new contract. And if they had previously not been a part of the aggregation because they were either on a competitive supplier or they previously opted out, they might not know about this program. They wouldn't be automatically enrolled. And in that case, you can go to the website or you can call the phone number. I actually did call the phone number just to check it out. A real person answered and they were able to
Okay, that's good to know.
be able to help people out. And so I don't have the exact numbers, but I can get this for you as to how many people we currently have enrolled, how many people have opted in since we entered enrollment into the new contract, and what we're looking at.
Okay. Now, I think this is a good thing, which is why we voted for it unanimously, because it will save the average homeowner significant money over the year. But I think the opt-in, opt-out is very confusing, certainly to me, and I'm sure other consumers. So anything we can do to, I mean, you look at this bill, and to me, it's confusing to begin with. So, but this is helpful, I will say, because it does say if you see Constellation, then you're getting the savings per se. Otherwise, because you're getting a bill from National Grid. Distribution, generation, it's confusing. And I think you explained it well.
That's why I only included page 2,
Right.
because there's so many figures and columns and numbers on page 1 that I thought my own eyes were glazing over. So I think you check page 2. If it doesn't say Constellation, you can call that 800 number, and maybe it's as simple as that.
So if it doesn't say Constellation, then you're getting charged the National Grid rate, which is significantly higher than
It's
Constellation.
going to cost you an extra $60 a year, at least right now. Now, the rate will change every 6 months. The rate changes every 6 months, so that may not be the case. It may be more in 6 months. We just don't know.
Right, okay. That's helpful, I think, to me, and I hope for the people at home, because we'd love to get the savings. There is one step that you have to take, and if it says Constellation, you're getting the savings, but if it says National Grid or something else, you're not. Is that right, Madam Mayor?
That's correct. Unless it says Constellation, you're not part of our community choice aggregation plan.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Counselor Rourke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question. I know when we first started this program years ago, everybody was automatically opted in unless you went and opted yourself out of it. So just a curiosity, why is it different now?
It's still the same, Councilor Rourke, except that if you've opted out, it won't automatically opt you back in. So you've got to take the wherewithal to opt in yourself, and that's why we want to reach those people and let them know, hey, the rates are different now. If you're interested, not only do you have a lower rate, but you've got a heck of a lot of green energy, the most in the state. You've got a chance to opt back in.
So people that are home right now watching, if they've never opted out before, they're automatically in this program, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia?
So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Every so often, the city comes together with, I think, Michael Vaughn, purchasing person in City Hall, and they look at all options to see what's best for the city of Lowell, and then we all decide that that's what we want. And like Councilor Rourke said, we could opt out of it and get what we want, but right now, this is the plan that we have, right?
That's correct.
Okay,
The council voted in November, I believe, for this plan.
That's what I thought. So I'm thinking that if you look at your bill and it says Constellation, just let it be, because this to me is the best.
Right.
People they opt out, but this is what we thought would be the best for the city, and sure, all right, I understand.
Sure. Thank you. Counselor Noon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is a great program, and I want to thank the managers and the Ms. Mose. You're right, the council voted last year, and sometime in November. This negotiation for a new contract really do two things, as indicated by Councilor Elliott. That is, give us a better cost as well as more green energy. You can't find in the state that have 59% green energy, and that is a good thing. But the one thing I concur with Councilor Elliott is that maybe we need to do more in terms of having people who opt out to opt back in and say why it's so important to do that, because what we have now is a little confused. Maybe some informational session or education with the help of the Sustainability Commission. Jay Mason is chair and his member work with the city to try to provide those training to the residents so that they understand the importance of up back in, because not only that they're saving, but also they provide more green energy. So I think I would suggest that we do that going forward.
Okay. I would agree with that, Councilor Noon, for sure. That sounds like a worthy program.
Okay, thank you. I think we have a registered speaker.
Oh, yeah. Stephen Malagodi.
Thank you, Steve Malagodi, 200 Market Street. And I'm representing 350 Mass Better Future Project, the Lowell chapter. We're the climate change people. Thank you, Mayor, especially, City Manager and council members, and congratulations to everybody for passing the most impactful energy legislation of any municipality in the state of Massachusetts. By taking such a positive stand, a signal was sent out to the rest of the state and to businesses and investors everywhere that Lowell has the kind of civic leadership that is able to look far beyond day-to-day politics and to not only envision, but to act on a vision for the future of our city that is safe, sustainable, healthy, and harmonious. This was a great step forward. But there is still much more to be done. Even within this agreement, as we've just heard, we must work to increase awareness and participation in the program for it to reach its full potential. But we must also look at other areas, particularly transportation, where the city should use its place on the board of the LRTA to aggressively push for expansion, modernization, and electrification of the LRTA fleet so that it becomes a truly modern service that is actually viable, a viable alternative to personal vehicles. We must look at weatherization and solarization not just of city property, but at programs that reduce the cost and the vast waste of energy that now burdens ordinary homeowners and renters. And we must look at the wide-scale transition of our city away from legacy fuels such as natural gas, which is unsafe at any pressure, as our neighbors in Lawrence know so well. And all this must be done while providing for workers in those sectors that will inevitably be affected by advancing technology. Now, these may seem like daunting tasks, but as the passage of this landmark CCA agreement has shown, we know the way forward, and it can be done, and it must be done. Unfortunately, there are some who live here in Lowell, who hold powerful positions in the State House of Representatives, who do not see the urgency for taking bold measures. They believe that we must use caution before courage. To be fair, they're not climate change deniers, they're good people. But they are deniers of the consequences of climate change. They believe the fires won't be that bad. The floods won't be that bad. The climate refugees won't come here, that it won't affect us. They're wrong. This council was right to take bold action with the CCA agreement. We look forward to working with you, Mr. Mayor, City Manager, Energy Manager, Sustainability Council, and each and every councilor now and those to come, to secure the beautiful future for our city and our world. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mason. Any further questions, discussion? Okay, thank you. Next, city clerk portion, minutes from the city council meeting, January 14th for acceptance. Motion by Councilor Elliott, second by Councilor Drinkwater. Place on file. All those in favor, say aye.
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 4, communications from the manager. 4.1, city manager requests out-of-state travel. 1, LPD. Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Move to approve by Counselor Elliott, second by Counselor Noon. Roll call?
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Counselor Noon.
Yes.
Counselor Rourke.
Yes.
Counselor Samaras.
Yes.
Counselor Chow.
Yes.
Counselor Conway.
Yes.
Counselor Drinkwater.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
Now we're on to votes from the city manager. Vote to accept and expend $100,000 from EOPSS for the year 2020 Municipal Staffing Award, Lowell Fire Department. Permission to waive the full reading, second reading by title, authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city council to accept and expend a grant from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security regarding the 2020 Municipal Staffing Award in the amount of $162,500 to cover a one-year period used by the Lowell Police Department.
We talk about the fire department.
Need a motion?
So moved.
For what? Yeah, motion.
Yeah, motion to adopt.
Yeah,
So
motion to
moved.
adopt by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Samaras. Roll call?
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
Can I just get, this is, again, it's good news, it's $100,000. Just for the people at home, it's a grant which offsets the cost of, or reduces the number of closings that we periodically have to do because of funding, right?
That is correct,
Generally, how
Counselor.
much, Madam Manager, or is it hours? Is it a firefighter, or?
It's primarily used to backfill if someone's either out injured or they're sick or on vacation, so that can be filled without straining the budget and would obviously result in fewer closures. Otherwise, the chief may have, or the deputies have no choice but to close a station. And so this helps in making sure that they can do it within the budget. So the $100,000 grant from EOPS is very well utilized by the fire department.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Council Mercer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I notice we have like a vote for the fire department, a vote for the police department. I know, and we're getting this award of the grant from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security. Now, do they notify us that this grant is available and we go after it? Or do we have someone in the,
We have someone who applies for
looks
the
for this.
grants, and Mary Ann Bellata is here and has been, as I've said before, absolutely
Yes.
essential in seeking monies
Right.
from every source, and again, tonight has been very successful in applying for and getting the grant money. I don't know whether Mary Ann could come forward and just speak to the monies that are on the agenda for the council tonight.
Sure. So we have, as was mentioned, the $100,000 for the Lowell Fire Department from EOPS for the Massachusetts Municipal Hiring Grant, as well as $162,000 for the Police Department from EOPS again for the Massachusetts Municipal Hiring Grant. Both grants for police and fire are for overtime, for backfill, for people who are out sick, vacation, or injured. And additionally, on the police side, we are also able to use some of the funds to be sure that we are able to attend all the community events that are going on in the city.
Sure, Council
Thank you,
Mercer.
Mr. Mayor. I actually didn't think that this, the Executive Office of Public Safety put it on our lap. I had a feeling someone went after it, and I knew that it would be you, Mary Ann. Sometimes people work in this city, and they give us more than they take out, and that's what you do. And so, thank you very much for all the work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a great team, I have to mention.
Thank you. Councilor Conway?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to echo what Councilor Mercia said. The fact is that when we have such a tight budget and we have to watch every nickel and dime, it's very difficult to meet our obligations. And when you have people like Mary Ann step up to the plate and come up with these grants, I think that, you know, you need to be applauded for that, Mary Ann, because I know that, you know, when you're going after grants, you have to know what grants you're going after. You can't be chasing grants. You could be chasing grants all day long, but the fact is to be able to match it up with what we qualify for in our needs. So again, I applaud the Mary Ann and you, Madam Manager, to put this together. I think it certainly helps the city, and it helps alleviate some of the financial burden that we have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Ann.
Councilor Rourke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And since we've talked about all three, I would just make a motion to put 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3 all together.
Second.
Throwing me for a loop here, so.
No, you can bundle it.
Yeah, read them.
Yeah, okay.
5.2, 5.3 now.
Okay. Thank you. So 5.2, vote to accept and expend $162,500 from Opus for the FY20 Municipal Staffing Award for the Lowell Police Department. Waive the full reading, second reading by title, authorizing city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to accept and expend a grant from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security regarding the FY 2020 Municipal Staffing Award in the amount of $162,500 over the one-year period for use by the City of Lowell Police Department. Vote to accept and expend $634,861.81 for the FY 2020 Shannon Grant Community Safety Initiative Grant from the Executive Office of Public Safety for Lowell Police Department. Permission to waive the full reading, second reading by title, authorizing city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to accept and expend a grant from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security regarding the FY 2020 Shannon Community Safety Initiative Award in the amount of $634,861.81 over a one-year period for use by the Lowell Police Department. So I need a motion. Motion to adopt by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Mercia. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the people that are watching this, the Shannon Grant is to reduce gang and youth violence, and we're going to work in conjunction with many facilities like the Career Center, UTEC, and the Police Academy, the summer students. It's to keep the kids occupied so that they're less susceptible to join gangs and commit violence. And this money is unbelievable. So I applaud Mary Ann Bellotta and the team again. This is a good piece of information and a very nice night to be here with all that money. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott?
I completely concur. This is a lot of money that we get on an annual basis. And it does some very good constructive things, and it does list the organizations that benefit. Could we get a report on how much each entity is awarded on an annual basis?
Under the Shannon Grant?
Under the Shannon
Yeah.
Grant, Madam Manager.
Yeah, we could
I just
certainly
think it'd be
get that
interesting
for
to
you.
know, and it would also be helpful to know how many individual students or beneficiaries.
How many
there
are
are.
benefited, because there's so many in the different programs that each one of the entities is participating in,
Right.
really partnering with the Lowell Police.
Right. I think that would be helpful for the public to know at some point in time.
Yeah.
It's state money, it's a grant, lots of good after-school anti-gang activities. So if we could get that, I'd like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And-
Any further? Sure.
I just wanted to just echo the sentiment and echo the sentiment of the great work done by the police department, but especially Mary Ann Bellotta. You know, this is just under $1 million that for our public safety sector that we're accepting tonight. Straight out grant money. It's not matching or anything like that. So good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Ann.
Thank
I hope the chief gives you a day off like all the other award recipients. You've earned it. Thank you.
Thank you.
We need roll call?
Yeah, I'm going to have, the initial roll call is going to be for item 5.1, as we already took motions on that, and then I'll do a second roll call for items 5.2 and 5.3 together as a motion. So on item 5.1, Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Counselor Noon.
Yes.
Counselor Rourke.
Yes.
Counselor Samaras.
Yes.
Counselor Chow.
Yes.
Counselor Conway.
Yes.
Counselor Drinkwater.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas. On items 5.2 and 5.3, Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Counselor Noon.
Yes.
Counselor Rourke.
Yes.
Counselor Samaras.
Yes.
Counselor Chow.
Yes.
Counselor Conway.
Yes.
Counselor Drinkwater.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you. 6, orders of the city manager. 6.1, order 60-day trial. Permission to waive the full rating, second reading by title pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Lowell, Massachusetts concerning Section 266-6, therefore entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations. Temporary traffic regulations are hereby implemented for the period of up to 60 days. Any questions? Need a move to approve by
approve.
Council Elliott, second by Council Noon. Roll call?
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Counselor Noon.
Yes.
Counselor Rourke.
Yes.
Counselor Samaras.
Yes.
Counselor Chow.
Yes.
Counselor Conway.
Yes.
Counselor Drinkwater.
Yes.
It's 9 yeas.
Okay, next, reports of subcommittee. You all have the new subcommittee assignments on your desk. I guess we'll take a look at it, and Mr. Clerk, we vote on that next week?
Yeah, if anybody's got any changes or questions, I guess you go through the mayor's office. Next week, if everything's in order, we just put a motion to accept and adopt them coming from the floor and put it on the mayor's portion and go from there.
Okay. Thank you. 7.1, wire inspection. National Grid requests installation of underground electric conduits and a new heavy-duty hand hole at 160 Middlesex Street. Need a motion to adopt and accept by Councilor Elliott, second by Councilor Drinkwater. Roll call?
No roll call.
No roll call. 8, petitions. 8.1, claims, 3, property damage. Need a motion to refer to Law Department for a report and recommendation by Councilor Samaras, second by Councilor Mercia.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
I have a question on.
Sure.
on that.
Councilor Conway?
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city solicitor. The property damage, how long is there a certain length of time we need to get back to people and to settle this, or for any type of claim?
No, there's no, there's no standard fixed set of time.
So in other words, somebody could put a claim in and we just wouldn't deal with it? Or
No, as I
could
understood
it
the
take like a
question,
year or 3 months or 2 months, or what does it normally do?
it's difficult to say what it normally does in terms of again, a fixed period of time, depending on the nature of the claim. If it's, say, commonly you have pothole claims, those will be sent off to the DPD for a report back, and generally, those are resolved one way or another, mainly denied, within a fairly short period of time. But it would depend on the nature of the claim.
How many of these claims would we have in the course of a year, roughly?
I don't know offhand what the actual number is, but I'd be happy to take a look at that and give you a report next week, if that works.
And just one other quick question. What would be the average payout for one of these claims? I mean, I know it's difficult to...
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, a claim for, say, damage to your car for a pothole could range anywhere from $200 to $2,000, $3,000. It would all depend. By and large, those claims are always denied. The DPD truly excels at being responsive, and so when the City of Lowell gets a claim and it's checked at the DPD, If-
DPW, I think.
Or DPW, sorry, thank you. If the pothole was fixed right away, then there would be no liability for the city. There's also no liability for the city if we haven't received advance notice for it. And when you begin to factor those types of things in, very few claims ever survive for payout, if we're talking about pothole claims.
One last quick question. How long, if somebody puts a claim in, and I know I started this off, would they expect that the office, somebody from City Hall would notify them? In other words, if I put a claim in,
Bless you.
how do I know someone's taken a look at it? Is someone going to get back to me, give me an email on it or something?
So oftentimes, there may be a call to the office where somebody is put on notice as to who specifically it got assigned to, and then communications from that point on would go directly to the attorney responsible for looking at a particular claim.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Mercia?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city solicitor. If someone, let's say that they fell in a pothole and they broke their glasses and they want to file a claim, do they have a certain amount of time to file that claim? Is it like 30 days? After that, it's too late?
Well, for a defect in the public way, right?
It's, what, a
It
month?
would be, right,
30.
it would be too late after that.
Too late after 30 days, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? 8.2, National Grid request installation of a new handhole and 100 feet of underground electrical conduit at 15 through 21 Surrey Lane. Motion to refer to for a public hearing on February 4th, 2020 by Councilor Conway, seconded by Councilor Drinkwater. All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, just as a note, that meeting will be at 7 PM.
7 PM, yep. City motions, city council motions. 9.1 by Councilor Elliott. Request city council vote to request State House delegation work with administration to fund $4 million earmark in bond bill H4549, Act providing for capital repairs and improvements for the study, design, and make capital improvements for public safety facility with fire and police services here in the city of Lowell. Seconded by Councilor Noon. Councilor Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is following up on good work done by then Senator Donahue. There's a $4 million earmark that was placed and approved and signed by the governor for a $4 million design and assessment of a new public safety building. So part of this work group that I meet with, the fire health safety work group, this was certainly identified as a potential source as we move forward. We know it's a long-term project, long-term capital project, but I do think while we certainly have a strong delegation, and I think the governor's ear to some degree, this needs to be inserted into a 5-year capital plan. So we thought it was important to bring this forward and either adopt a resolution or clearly a letter of support to send down to the governor and the delegation to try to get this moving. Interestingly enough, Madam Manager, I did notice there was another earmark in that same bond bill, $8 million to enhance parking at the Judicial Center. So I know we can only go to the well so much, but even if we get part of it into the 5-year capital plan or the 1-year plan. So I'm not sure if I can amend my own motion or whether we should send a separate letter, but there's $12 million, and it's in a bond bill, I understand, but we can start chipping away at it considering you got it authorized. And that's the first big step. So I'll stop there. I think it's important. It's money, it's state money, as we just talk about grants, that if we get our legislators to go to work or work on this, then it's much needed money. So thank you, Mr.
So we'll
Mayor.
amend the motion, seconded by Councilor Rourke.
So just for clarification, we'll prepare, is it a letter of support or
Well,
to the administration and the delegation?
I look to your advice. I mean, a resolution is perhaps better for other,
Yeah, well, I think a letter of support
Okay.
to the administration and the delegation, of course.
I agree. Okay, thank you.
Council Rourke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the manager, since we did amend the motion, are there any plans that the city may have? I know that we talked a couple weeks ago about, I think it was a plot 1 or, in front of the courthouse, but is there anything that's ongoing other than the city's garage that's going to be, built in November?
For the parking?
Yeah.
We're hoping it's ready in October. And some floors may actually be ready before that while they finish the upper floor. So we're working with the consultant to try and have some spaces open sooner rather than later. As the presentation that was made by Lowell Companies, this is right before you came on board, they are looking at Lot 1 as a potential garage site, and that's the lot, if you're looking at the courthouse, to the right with a big pile of dirt on it right now. And that's one that they have made proposal, and we are discussing that with them as far as building a private garage. We've also had interest from another entity, I don't know how close they are, but looking at a private garage kind of across the street, across Dutton Street, so that could support parking, not just Hamilton Canal, but other development across the street on the other side of Dutton. So there is interest in doing that, and of course, we are working with our parking department as to see who can be moved around to free up as much space as possible.
Great. And that lot of dirt, that's not our responsibility, correct? Even though we own that lot, that's not
The dirt is
ours.
DCAM's responsibility, and they've promised that once they're finished with the site, they have to clean up the site, and I think that's expected to happen within this next month. It's certainly going to be done before they open the courthouse, or that's what we're told. And the courthouse opening is still at least scheduled, you know better than I probably, but March.
March 9th.
Yeah, so that is DCAM who will clean up that site.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Chow?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I don't know if Madam Manager can answer this or Councilor Elliott. Just to clarify on the $4 million, is that what the state has received and we're just waiting to get the money to the city, or is that the full amount of $4 million?
It was authorized, sorry, Council.
No,
It was
go.
authorized in a bond bill. And so once it's authorized in a bond bill by both branches of the legislature and then signed by the governor, then it's a matter of really lobbying the administration to release some of the authorized money, either include it into their capital plan or to make release of it. So that's the next step of trying to get the money. The first step is to get it part of the larger bond bill, and this was one for capital repairs.
All set. Madam Manager, so the courthouse is scheduled to have a grand opening or a...
We don't have a date yet. We're waiting on that, but it's going to be a phase over several weekends.
Sure. Councilor Rourke?
Yeah, just to manager's point, the district court goes in on March 9th, then each following court a week or two after that. So probably we won't fully be in until maybe early May, late
Yeah,
April.
I think the probate court is coming in May, so it's being staggered depending on the court. So, I know the trial court is looking to try and have a date for a grand opening, but we don't have that yet from the state.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott?
Not to get too far off the motion, but just on that phase in, which is good news for, I think, at least us, because parking is, and we've had this discussion about interim plans. Where are we with that, Madam Manager? And just in terms of interim, there are some spots, but if that's fully operational in May, and presumably the parking garage won't open till October.
Right.
That's a pretty...
Yeah, we have been having discussions with the trial court and DPD as far as identifying spots, including there's what the trial court is looking at is using their district court lot for a temporary solution, as well as the Superior Court lot and having a shuttle service, as well as we're looking to move some people around in our garages. So under the agreement with the trial court, the city had promised to provide 300 spaces, and so that's what we're working collaboratively.
No, and I was just going to, I know Council Conway had a motion a couple of weeks ago about satellite parking, and you
Right.
just answered the question, because seemingly we're going to need some of that type of support.
Yeah, and I think the trial court's concerned about their employees, of course, you know, in terms of where they're going to park, so that's one of the things we're working with
Okay.
the representative from the trial court.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Noon?
Speaking of, Madam Manager, speaking of the satellite bus and or shuttle people in, we talked about that. This is a year ago, somewhat year ago, about looking at Cross Point being a parking so we can shuttle people through bus to come to the Judicial Center because the parking garage is not going to be done by the time they move into the courthouse. So has that discussion been?
That's been one of the locations. We had several with the trial court. We continue to work with them. We've had meetings as far as where they want to see some off-site parking for the short term.
That certainly be a lot convenient for a lot of people that either working at the Judicial Center and or the customer that coming to the Judicial Center. They just get off the highway, wait for the bus, and bus then shuttle them to the Judicial Center. That would be a great location to do shuttle busing and parking location.
We'll keep you posted in terms of those. You know, that's a privately owned lot, but we'll
Yes.
keep you posted as far as where those discussions are going.
Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. 9.2 by Councilor Elliott, request city manager, DPD, report on status of properties located at 246, 1 Market Street, the Powerhouse and Coal Pocket Building. Seconded by Councilor Noon. Councilor Elliott.
Just a report, I mean, Madam Manager, there's this, right in the center of downtown. I know you are well aware of this location, but it's, you know, I'm just curious why it hasn't been developed, and I know there's an owner. My understanding, there were plans, and whether they fell through or not, but it's an abandoned, they're two abandoned properties right in the middle of the central business district and the historic district, so I think it's important if we could,
Yeah.
presumably in this economy, that there would be an interest in developing that. So I just happened to be walking by and on more than one occasion, and of course, it's a clear view into the Hamilton Canal. So do you have any, is there?
No, we'll
anything
get you an update, Counselor. I know it's been an issue, an eyesore. It's also had bricks falling and so forth. So we'll get you the full update as far as where it stands, and if there's any. As far as I know, there are no immediate plans for development, but we'll
Okay.
come back with
All right, thank you.
information.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. 9.3, Councilor Samaras, request city manager have superintendent of police provide a report regarding action taken to address violence in the downtown district at closing time of the establishments. Additionally, work with the bar owners to develop solutions to address ongoing issues inside their respective establishments. Seconded by Councilor Mercia. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to the city manager. You know, during my time, Madam Manager, I received some calls, you know, regarding problems in Lowell at the time of closing of the late-night bars, and, you know, this council had to react in some cases. As you know, Lowell has a closing time of 1:45, actual time 2 o'clock, 1:45 to bring everything to closure, which really encourages people in the neighboring communities who want to drink to come here to Lowell to drink. And I think and in the past, we've had, well, say, police officers stopped by bouncers from coming into establishments. We've had weapons fired in the downtown at closing time. Basically, our police officers and residents are put at risk. I also received, you know, complaints from residents who were coming in from being out of town at the time of closing of the bars, going into the garages, and literally being afraid to go into the garage at that time. And I do know our police department has done a lot to ameliorate this problem. So I'm not asking for, at this time, for a rollback in the hours. And I know that there are bar owners who literally do what they're supposed to make it work. But Madam Manager, what I'd like from the police superintendent is a report provided that provides the activities that take place and the costs of those activities. How many officers are needed? When, if there is a problem in the downtown, what happens to our neighborhoods? Are our neighborhoods left uncovered? What's the, does that become problematic? But overall, it's the costs. And what I'd like to look at, can the police department offer programs to the bar owners, especially those that, we'll say, are part of the problem, that would help them learn how to identify false IDs if they're used, how to tell if someone's impaired. Because I would venture to say if a lot of the cars were stopped, most of the people in those cars would not be able to pass any type of a blood test. And so I have that concern. We've had problems, and my concern is at some point, because of this and because of some of the bars that do not follow the rules, we could have a police officer hurt, or we could have a college student who's of age hurt, or we could have students who are not of age hurt. And this is something we don't want for this city. When I look at this city, I think we want people to think about this city as a place of the Folk Festival, the Spinners, Merrimack Repertory Theater, and many other programs like that. Not the only place in the area where you can get a drink. I think it encourages the wrong type of people to come into the city. So I'm at this point, I'm not asking this city council to take a vote at this time to roll back the hours, but I would like to see a report that comes to all of us that would indicate what the costs are because of these after-hour close, or these late-night bars, how problematic they really are, and if the bar owners, especially those that do not like to follow the rules, are willing to cooperate. If they're not willing to cooperate, then I think we have to take other actions. But right now, the police have done a lot of work, but I'd like to be able to offer them even more support to be able to handle this situation, because I think it's explosive. I think at some point, the city could be harmed by what we have. I don't see any need for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott, and then Councilor Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to support this motion because I brought it up in December, Madam Manager, and I know you and your staff are looking at it for exactly the same reasons. And I'll take it a step further, because we have gone over this issue of the closing of the bars at 2 o'clock more than once. And as I mentioned a month ago, this is what happens. Every police officer in the neighborhood has to flood the downtown at closing time. And I think that's abundantly wrong to the taxpayers that have no coverage in the neighborhoods. And I know you've spoken to this, Madam Manager, but I think it's high time that we're not the last call in this area. People come from all over the place, and we went through extensive discussions on this. I think it was just about a year ago that those bars that were having problems, and that to some degree they're still the same bar rooms, the Smokehouse and others. We asked them to have details, and they don't provide details, and we shouldn't be paying for them. It shouldn't be a city-funded detail. So I will support the motion to get the information, but as I said before, I think it's time. I think it's beyond time that the chaos that takes place after the bars close comes to an end. I think it was Council Mercier brought up motions. We're getting people urinating all over the place in there. We've had business owners come in the morning. Their doorways are, vomit, and there's fights and there's problems. So, in my opinion, we've given it a chance, and I think that we can still have plenty of economic development, plenty of people downtown, but anything after 1 o'clock. And I thought that was going to be the policy. 1 o'clock, doors closed. By 2, everybody's gone. But time and time again, we see these violations, and it's costing us and it's costing taxpayers resources to enforce that and compromise public safety elsewhere. So I think it's a good motion to get the information, but in my opinion, I think we need to do it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Conway, then
Yeah, thank you,
Councilor
Mr.
Samaras.
Mayor. I'll be brief. I agree with the motion. I think it's very timely. We've talked about this numerous times on the floor, and I absolutely agree. We cannot be taking our public safety resources and bring them downtown constantly on that Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. I think that if the bar owners get away with it and there's no teeth to the situation, then they're going to continue. So I think that the overwhelming majority of places in downtown are doing a good job, and they certainly monitor it in a very positive way. But there are a few problems, very few, but there's few problems. We have to address those problems, and I think if we do, and Council Elliott just named one of them, I believe, we need to clean that up and do whatever we have to take action and remove the situation, period. And I think it's very, very timely, and I applaud Councilor Samaras. You just can't keep on doing this over and over and over. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you. No, I want to thank the councilors, for supporting this motion. See, the thing is, in the past, we know that this has been brought forth other times by the councils way back and defeated, and the votes were not there. Because there are bars that do meet the needs and what have you, and so we don't want to punish them because of the bad acts of somebody else. But there, as I stated, what do we want this community to be known as? And I don't want this community to be known as, this is where you can go get a drink if it's very late, that type of thing. But Councilor Elliott did talk about it, but I want a report from the police chief talking about what happens to our neighborhoods when the police are called in to support the downtown because of some problems. Because I was told the other day about a story about how late at night someone needed help, but the police officers got there before the ambulance got there and before the fire department because the police were in the area and were very helpful in helping this person be okay. So it is really important to our citizens that we ensure that we have our police in the neighborhoods. And I just want, what I'm looking at is a step-by-step, let's look at this, let's give the chief the ability to look at what it really costs, be able to come back to the city council and talk about what the problems are, and allow this council then to make a decision that is the right decision for the people of Lowell, based on facts. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that when we say downtown, we think of the business district, but please, let's not lose sight of the fact that downtown is a neighborhood. There's people that live there, and they shouldn't have to put up with this either. I don't hear them complaining, but I'm sure that I wouldn't want to be listening to a brawl at a certain time of night. So that's just, I wanted to say
No, good
that.
point. Thank you. Councilor Chow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support the motion as it is to get a study of the overall cost of the city to prevent all these problems. But we have to also consider, I would add one more report to request, that is specifically the name of the pubs or the bars that are causing the problems. Maybe get numbers, get statistics of where are the problems occurring at the most, because I believe in the 80-20 rules, right? A lot of times 80 of the problems cause the other 20 good people, good businesses to go down. And we really want to take good care of the businesses, the pub and the bar, that know what to do, know how to take care of the clients, and they do a good job. And we can't punish those small businesses either. So let's get the reports to be a little bit more specific. Where are the problems coming from? Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Manager?
Thank you. We will get the report from the superintendent. I did, and this is an issue, we've seen it time and time again at the hour, the witching hour, when the closures happen and the trouble starts. And it's outsized compared to what happens every other day of the week and even other nights of the week besides Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You know, the police have done a great job. In terms of, if you look at the statistics, and we'll give you this in terms of crime and overall crime and what they've done, but this continues to be a persistent challenge and problem. And it's very difficult for those officers at 2 or 2:15 in the morning when hundreds of people are on the street in a state that is difficult to control. So we will get you the full report, as well as this is a major issue for the police department, and we'll come up with recommendations that, from a public safety point of view, that they are going to put forward, and then, of course, have the council weigh in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott?
Just real brief, could I follow up with just another, perhaps, addition to this request? But I remember the headline, it was Wild, Wild West downtown. At that point in time, we had the state police coming in to maintain law and order in the downtown. And I know we still get that support, and at some point, they must say you gotta take some corrective action. Is there any way we can get information on how many state police officers?
Yeah, we could get that as well.
I think it just will emphasize the magnitude of the problem.
And as I said, it's a real challenge for the police at those hours on those nights. Not every night, but it has happened. And it's an unfair, knock on the whole city to say this is, it's unsafe, because during that period of time, it's been very difficult for the police to control. We go to the License Commission with certain complaints, but we'll get you all that information.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. 9.6 by Councilor Conway. 9.4, Councilor Conway requests city manager provide update regarding employee incentive program offered by the city, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Conway?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's just looking for an update. I talked to a few of the employees in the city, and they heard about the motion, and they were kind of excited about it. And as one individual said, that this is finally an opportunity that someone's going to listen to us. So, we have a great number of hardworking individuals in the city, hundreds of them. Why not tap into their sources and find out, what might work? What, as we've talked about before, the business world does it all the time. And again, I think that once the ball starts rolling and people realize that it's alive and well, and individuals, because I know that some people are saying, oh, come on, there won't really be any type of financial incentives. I said, oh yeah, there's been a certain amount of money that's been put aside for this. So once we get that on board and we bring somebody forward, whoever it may be, with these ideas that make sense. Now, I think we also talked about some type of a review board. Could you speak to that, Madam Manager?
Thank you, Councilor. So after you filed your motion, we did look into, there's an ordinance on the books going back a number of years that authorizes this activity. In other words, to accept ideas from employees that are cost-saving ideas, and then there could be a financial incentive reward for the employee. So our next step is to just put together that small review committee, and we'll be working with the law department. Hopefully next week we can have one. And the reason I say that is, believe it or not, we have an idea from one of our employees that came in just,
I heard.
okay. So, so we want to get started on having it reviewed and, weighed in. So we will try and have that vote as far as what the review panel is. I think it's under the ordinance 3 people. I will probably be the CFO. We'll put that together and have it on your desk next week.
Great. I thank you very much. I appreciate that.
All those in favor say aye. 9.5 by Councilor Noon, request city manager have city assessors office hold community meetings throughout the city to help guide residents through the process of filing abatements for property assessment. Seconded by Councilor Samaras. Councilor Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is basically a informational and educational process, so to speak, and we've done a lot with this administration, try to get out to the community, educate people as to how to do it, and why their house was assessed the way it did, and why their neighbor, if they're not unhappy because their neighbor house assessed lesser, so the opportunity to try to file abatement and how to do that. That's important because a lot of people don't know how to do that, and so this basically asking for assessor office to go out there, to the community, say the Highland or the Central and whatnot, to educate our resident about how to. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. 9.7, Councilor Noon, request city manager have proper departments, public works and parks initiate a drop-off program for unwanted. Yeah, what did I say? No, that was, we did 9.6 was so I'm on to paving, all right. Excuse me, 9.6, Councilor Noon, request city manager have Commissioner of Public Works take measures to ensure repaving work done by the contractors is done properly. Seconded by Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We talked about this, I think last year or a year before, regarding contractors that are coming in. They put bond out there and they do not do a good job. And, now we need to really, hold them accountable for it, making sure that each contractor is ensure that the work is done properly. And given the facts that now we have Kristen Clancy now is director of DPW, it's the right fitting to do that because now she can go after them day one. So, so that just asking for that because we're talking a lot about a street that being repaved and then not too long after it's not the way it should be. And you brought that up last year, I think, Mayor. So this is something that forward-looking and making sure that it doesn't happen.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. 9.7, Councilor Noon, request city manager have proper departments, public works and parks initiate drop-off program for unwanted household items that cannot be put in the trash or recycled under the current waste system management system. Seconded by Councilor Elliott. Councilor Noon.
I think, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I think we have a speaker, so I'd rather the speaker go first or no speaker? All right, thank you. We talk a lot, Mr. Mayor, every couple of months talking a lot about illegal dumping, and we actually had our inspectors and staff go take care of that. So this is basically saying that, look, maybe we're looking at a pilot program to say maybe a drop-off place is a big item that, the waste management don't take or doesn't go our trash. So if we have no other place for them to go, guess what? They're going to go do that illegal dumping, and then we're going to talk about that again next month and month after. So maybe look into how a pilot program, because we're going to pay it anyway. Pay it to, when it's the illegal dumping, we send our inspector and send our staff to take care of it. And just, I think 2 weeks ago, Councilor Mercia talked about that illegal dumping as well. So we need to have a proactive approach so that we don't have to deal with the issue of illegal dumping going forward. So I would ask that through you, Mr. Mayor, through you, Madam Manager, to have DPW looking into it, do a pilot program. So,
thank you. Councilor Elliott, then Councilor Conway.
Well, when Gunther was here, I know I had filed a motion to get a response, and the challenge is it has to be staffed. And I support it, but I think at the time the recommendation is that it's a costly venture. Is that correct? And, however, maybe with the new recycling criteria, there might be more of a need for it. But he had identified a place right off Western Ave. There were some locations, and we talked about this for a while, but can you just
Yeah,
refresh our
we
memory?
will get the report, the updated report, especially now looking at the costs that we're facing. So it would be, there is a staffing issue, and then there's an issue of, fee. Right now, you can call to have a couch or a refrigerator, and you pay for that, and it will be picked up. So we can get a further report, but, we're struggling with our recycling as it is, and looking at increased costs. So we will look at that, but again, it's, there are financial considerations.
Is there any possibility to generate revenue from, because I remember Councilor Mercy and I, and we went down to Worcester, and they have a very successful program. They clearly have the area, and people have been educated to go drop off and pay at the same time. It was pretty impressive when we were down there.
We'll take a look at what they're doing and see, because of course, if it is an opportunity to have it be, revenue neutral, then
right.
that makes sense,
Yeah.
So we'll certainly look into that.
But I think it's a good move. I think it's timely considering that the rules are changing to some degree, what is recyclable and what is not, and clearly the enforcement
The
piece.
enforcement's going to be, and we'll be coming back once we finish this audit. I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's not looking good.
We've
I
got
mean-
we've had some good days, and we've had some really bad days. And, enforcement, we are trying education, but some people just, we'll come back with a report. We're still in the audit phase, so.
No, and we don't want to, I do think to some degree there are some people that are not going to recycle or properly or just continue.
Yeah, and we're going to
leave
have
it
to
dump.
look at those individuals.
But I think people just don't know some of the products that
Yeah.
they're putting in that are I'd say no longer eligible, right? Because,
That could be, and we've talked about some other avenues, maybe like, let's limit it to the major things and take away the confusion, right?
I
So,
agree, Madam Manager.
And let's just make it simple, because people are getting confused. But some of the violators, there's no confusion. They're putting everything, including the kitchen sink in there. you
And
know,
are we
so-
tagging those
Yeah,
folks that give them
and we
citations?
have found our tags shoved into the barrel and coming out at the treatment plant. We have some real scofflaws, so
And what happens, Madam Manager, at that point, if
they reject it. I mean, at the plant?
no,
Oh, you mean if they
don't
have-
pay the ticket or they put the ticket inside the barrel?
Yeah, well, then
We have a
it's,
record of it, and
yeah, and then
do
we're
we
going to
lien
have
that
to.
against the property and/or the property owner?
That's one of the things we just had a discussion today about as far as enforcement. So we're working on that. We want to make sure that whether it's that or shoveling your sidewalk, that we're enforcing some of these things. So, we've tried, and I think for a while, tried to educate and reach out and do education, but some of the things we've seen, it's like, this isn't education, this is just complete disregard for what the rules are. And it is badly, skewing our numbers. So we'll, again, I'll wait till the week is over and we have enough to digest it and come back with a report and maybe some specific recommendations as to what we need to do in regard to this, because it does increase our costs and unnecessarily, completely unnecessarily.
Okay, but just back to the motion, I
Yeah.
do think it's warranted to take a look at it and ramp up, because there's things showing up all over the place, so.
Yeah, and we'll look at some other communities, because sometimes as soon as you have a fee, then they're dumping somewhere else. So we'll look at
Right,
other communities
okay.
and see how they're doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Conway?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is a good motion. I will certainly support it to get the report to find out, how we can manage this a lot better. But I will say that we've talked about this before, and I mentioned it, the fact of limiting the items that we put in there, because as we've said dozens of times, people are not following the rules and regulations. So, again, I think we should take a look at the fact of limiting it to the more used items. And if we can get that right, then we add on another one or a couple more that we can recycle. I mean, I realize what people say, listen, all these things have to be recycled, but the fact is, if we're not doing it correctly, and I know that what we've said here numerous times is, well, take a look at the website. The average person is not going to take a look at the website. The average person is not going to make a telephone call. So I think we have to simplify it as much as we possibly can, because I think a lot of people truly are trying to do it, but they're not necessarily succeeding. And people I've talked with said, you know, when in doubt, I'm throwing it right in the garbage. I'm not worrying about recycling and having some type of problem. We don't want it. We want to make it. We want to make it as crystal clear as possible. But I think the motion is good. I think we need to take a look at this and review it one more time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Rourke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the manager. Madam Manager, with this audit going on and the report you're going to get, is it probable that it's going to cost us more
Oh, yeah.
than it's worth, right?
Well, you know, under the contract, we have to monitor our recycling or our contamination levels each year. And so if we are beyond what the range is, it could cost us more. And as I said, we had days that we were doing pretty good. And then we had some that they're terrible.
So in your report, you're going to have the city's
We'll
costs
have-
towards it
yeah.
and what the savings should be
Yeah,
with the right
and what the
percentage,
impact,
correct?
yeah. And, you know, there are a number of things we might have to do. We may have to address, we're going to have to raise the fee, we're going to have to do, you know, so, but I'm getting ahead of ourselves, but we're going to have to deal with this as a city because it's critically important. And but we'll get you the full report.
Thank you.
Thank you. This would be a good report to go to whatever subcommittee and for further discussion. I think Worcester has a pretty good rate, don't they, Madam Manager, for?
I don't know theirs. I know certainly some of the towns have very good compliance rates, and that's a different matter. But we are going to look at the gateway cities because some of the challenges, whether it's language or, you know, different challenges that we have. So we're going to look at that. Oh, okay.
Sure.
Worcester is a pay-as-you-throw. That's a whole different system.
Right.
But
And I think they use bins, so it makes a difference if you have bins where they can clearly see what's being thrown, or, you know, where we have the colored barrels, people hide things in it, so that should be part of the discussion too, you know?
maybe we'll ask the auditor for her opinion from Worcester, but we'll ask her to make the contact. We'll get that information.
Sure, thank you. All those in favor, say aye. 9.8, Councilor Noon, request city manager provide a report on city clerk's office efforts to digitalize public records and make them available online, seconded by Councilor Conway. Councilor Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Clerk, it's come your way. I think digitized public record is important. I think, you know, given that, I know that it's going to be very soon that a federal real ID requirement is coming. You know, when that happens, you're going to see an increase in number of people requesting their birth certificate and other vital important, right? So I think digitized process will certainly, you know, provide a process that's more efficient for both staff at the clerk office as well as to the public who request the document. So I think it's a good thing to do. I know that at some many years ago, I think Mr. Clerk, when he provided report, he can share with us that at one point, some time ago, that the city clerk or the clerk office is trying to digitize some of the record at the clerk office. Maybe as well update us as to where you at on that, because that's important in addition to trying to get this online birth certificate and whatnot. So I'm just asking for a report. So I'm anticipating.
Yes, Council, we can update. My office is digitized tens of thousands of records to date. Done it without going outside my clerk staff. Done it in-house, done it at no cost, additional cost, tens of thousands of. I think what you're looking for is a little different. If people are requesting birth certificates or vital records, they can't do that online. Anybody that's looking for a vital record has to come in, and we have to stamp that. It's got to have an official stamp, but it's got to be an original. So getting it online is a little different, but I'll expand upon that and report to you.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Any announcements? Counselor Conway, you all set? Okay. All right. I need a motion for adjournment. Counselor Rourke, seconded by Counselor Mercia. Thank you.
Johnny getting quicker.